Hey writers, welcome to the YouTube home of Novelists Inc., NINC, the organization for career novelists. I'm Ryan, and I'm betting that, like many writers, you'd like to be able to write faster and to use your writing time more effectively. If so, then stick around. On today's show, NINC member Aliza Mann talks with Chris Fox, author of the Write Faster, Write Better series. A former iPhone developer, Chris has published more than 20 novels and lives his goal of quitting his day job to become a full-time writer. So, buckle up. Here we go. While Novelists Inc., NINC, strives to provide accurate and helpful information, NINC does not assume any liability for or endorse any opinions, advice, instructions, products, errors, or omissions in the following video. Viewers are solely responsible for how they interpret and apply any NINC content.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Aliza Mann, and we have the fabulous Chris Fox here, and he's going to be speaking to us today about write faster, write smarter, and strategies to improve your speed at writing, which I feel like authors need all the time, especially someone like me who's a pantser. So, welcome, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no worries at all. It's fascinating stuff that you do. I feel like it's kind of like a trick of the mind that gets me to write faster. So, thank you for sharing your strategies with the world. But I know this is your least favorite part. But why don't you tell us about how you developed this theory, how it came to you, and a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I was a software engineer for a long time, which was a very positive move for me. I had had a lot of, kind of dead-end jobs for a while. The iPhone came out, and I parlayed my way into a good job, was very happy, but I wanted to be an author. And
Hmm.
I started seeing the self-publishing boom, but I didn't really have time to take advantage of it. So I wanted to write, but I was doing 12 hours of code a day. It's pretty challenging. Well,
Right.
where there's a will, there's a way. I started studying neuroscience, the idea being we can do incredible things if we try. And so I built what John Cleese would have called a tortoise enclosure, which is a sort of a creative playpen where you can do whatever you want. And it has to be defined by boundaries of space and boundaries of time. And so what I did is, okay, I take a bus into San Francisco every morning to my nice software engineering job. Why don't I get a laptop and sit there and program, or excuse me, instead of programming, write for
Mhm.
the duration of the trip in and then also on the way home. And so every day I was striving to get 5,000 words done. And the first book in the series is called 5,000 Words an Hour because my goal continuously was I want to get this done in an hour so I can get it done every day. And I only ever hit that when I used dictation, to be fair. That was 5,600 words an hour. But I'm fine with 3,500 words an hour as long as, I need it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the thing, right? We're like, it feels like we're having less and less time available to us, especially when you're working a full-time job or have kids
Mhm.
or, any multitude of things that you're dealing with. So those minutes, if it's just an hour a day, getting that in becomes so much more important. We kind of talked about work and things like that, but I feel like there's some like internal barriers that we have at times that prevent us from maximizing our times, right? What do you think are the biggest barriers for authors today in achieving their writing goals?
I think switching costs, we all sort of recoil in horror from that. And it's really easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to watch a few TikToks or a few YouTube videos on writing or on some subject that I need to research for my writing. And that turns into 2 hours. And the next thing you know, all of your writing time is gone. You didn't get your words down. So for me, it's butt in chair at a specific time. I don't get to do any other tasks until the words are done. I don't even allow myself to edit. I start what are called writing sprints, where I will write for 20 minutes with a timer on until I'm done. And I don't need the timer anymore, but I did for several years where I just go, go, go until the sprint is done. Now I know the words are done and I can take as much time to edit them as I want.
Right, right. And I think that's, you talk a lot about that, how it's kind of programming your brain like, this is my time, this is my space.
Mhm.
I won't give the whole book away, but it's pretty interesting stuff. So it's me. I'm the one that is writing. I'm a pantser. Maybe I'm scrambling for time, what is the very first thing that I should do to begin my journey to writing faster, better?
If I'm a pantser and I don't do any plotting at all, I start. And the form of plotting is really simple. I put one blank document page in whatever I use. Let's say Scrivener is a great example. For each of the chapters I think I'm going to write, and I just write, this is what the chapter's about. This is what's different at the end of the scene, and these are the people in the scene. Done. You don't have to do anything else, just a little bit of a basics. And then
Yeah.
you sort of think about what the direction of the story is and let your subconscious play. You're still getting to what I call plot gardening, where you're taking time to sort of grow the plot and let it organically come about. But you also have some structure to it because the alternative is I sit down and I don't know what to write.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I do think that helps. Even though I'm a pantser, need some direction. It gives me
Mhm.
a little bit of help. So some of the premise, you talked about this a little bit. How, you use dictation in the beginning, and it helped you improve your speech from your first book is kind of the primary goal. In order to do so, I feel like you have to kind of quiet that internal editor too. So what's the best way to shut off that noise? Kind of that, I don't know where to go. And, is it the kind of knowing where you're going, or how do you kind of quiet that grammarian that's in your brain saying, that's not right?
You have to make a deal with it. You sort of have to bargain with your shadow in the sense that it's going to do what it's going to do no matter what.
Mhm.
So what I tell mine is, hey, listen, you get to be as hypercritical as you want. As soon as I'm done with this writing sprint, we're just going to go ahead and write these words down. I'm not going to correct typos right now. If I don't know a character name, I'm just going to put X for the character's name. Keep writing, and I'm going to get to the end of this scene. And when I get done, then it's your turn. And Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, where you get to switch faces and now that part of your brain that is hypercritical can come in and do everything it wants to do. So just let it know, hey, you can't do it right now. I'm going to do the writing
Mhm.
sprints. I'm going to get the words down, but I will give you your chance later. I'm not going to deny you that because a lot of people really struggle with sitting down and writing because they feel like they have to edit it in the moment. And some people, that's the only way they know how to write.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, especially when I was first starting, I was like, this isn't gonna, you can't say that over and over again, and you never get anything done. So I totally agree with that. So I probably read this book during the pandemic,
Mhm.
the very first one. Might have been a little later than that, but it was written in 2015. And I revisited preparing for this interview, and it is still relevant. Like I still like learn new things. What do you believe has changed in the publishing industry as it pertains to increasing productivity, and why does this book still resonate?
Nothing at all has changed, and I mean literally nothing, and that's why it still resonates.
Hmm.
The recipe is exactly the same as it was back then, and it's funny because AI can write books now, right? And that's
Yeah,
terrifying, the idea that
it
you can
is
have so
terrifying.
much more competition. But in 2014, when I put my first book out, there was already 2 million books on Amazon and a whole bunch of authors that I consider to be better than me out there. So you're already competing with the sum of humanity. Like, how much worse can it get? If you do the fundamentals well and you write fast so you can iterate through stories and learn more about your craft, then you're going to get to mastery. And when you get to
Yeah.
mastery, your fans are going to keep coming back for more.
Yeah, I do think there's this expectation from readers, like you gotta have something behind it,
Mhm.
and you spend 6 months, 7 months on a book, and then they read it overnight. So, so yeah, I feel like that resonates with me as well. So there is a recommendation that planning should occur. And we talked a little bit about that. You said a one-liner. I know that there are some of my friends that are like, I don't want to know anything. But how can those of us who really do not want to plot um, apply this concept? I know you mentioned the one-liner, but are there other ways that might help the pantser?
Yes, it really depends on how your brain works. So presumably you have some ideas about what the story is going to be. Like I want to write a book roughly about these things.
Hmm.
How and where did those ideas come to you? Start harvesting that. So if you were walking in the park at lunch and you do this every day, start walking in the park at lunch every day and thinking about your book and see if
Hmm.
that jars loose ideas. And that way, when you sit down, maybe your subconscious has come up with some new stuff.
Hmm.
Utilize your methodology and try to kind of perfect that angle. If you can't use your conscious mind to generate plot through a traditional story method, then use your unconscious mind.
Hmm. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And now since listening to this and since it was another, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, that said just use one line. I like the one line concept. I really do. It helps me. So folks, there is hope for you. So you also include like a lot of resources that'll help us get started. I really appreciated the spreadsheets. You have a few other tools. Can you talk a little bit about, what is available to authors right now if they want to apply these methodologies and how to get started using your tools and where to start in the series, I guess, too.
Sure. So the good news is that most of the tools are now free, the exception being maybe Scrivener, which you'd have to pay money for. But there are free versions of almost everything out there. As you are going through my books, they're numbered in order. They're designed for an author who is just getting started. So you start with, okay, how do I write a book? How do I come up with a dream on how to be an author and start a writing habit? And then what do I write that was right to market? Okay, six-figure author, how do I start building a marketing plan? So everything is there. And most of it is still relevant. The stuff that's not are going to be things like, okay, when you come to Amazon, it's going to look like this. Obviously, that may have changed, but the principles are sound. Everything's the same. If you understand what kind of story you are trying to sell, the emotional experience that your audience is shopping for, and your marketing copy says that, they're going to buy your book. And if your story delivers, then they're going to buy the next one too.
Okay. And you're recommending just to sit down, read them in order, and it'll kind of help you build along the way. Well, that's
You
fantastic.
Sure, you could pick them a la carte in the sense that if there's only two or three that look like they're skills you need to learn, like grab what you need. Don't waste extra
Mhm.
time. But if you're brand new, yeah, sit down, read them in order, and hopefully it changes your career the way it did mine.
Yeah, it really helped at a time when I was like, I want to put more into my writing career. So it really helped me for that. So thank you for all of that. I feel like these books are kind of necessities. I do have them as like I read them on Kindle, and audio is available as well.
Mhm.
And then there's print copies. So all the versions for whatever people like to do. But let's hear about you, Chris. What is next for you? What are you working on? And what can we expect to see from you in the future?
Sure. As pertains to writers, I've got two new books coming out, which is funny because it's the first time in 7 years I've added to the series. But so many authors I know are scared about AI and sort of worried, like, what are we going to do to adapt to the market that I saw a need and I'm trying to fill that. The
Mhm.
first one is called Level Up Your Writing and is designed to help you improve your prose. I don't know of a book that does that in a way that's easy to approach. Like, sure, there's dense tomes that you can sit and try to force your way through to gradually improve your writing and learn more about grammar, but we need something that's practical and easily approachable. So I wrote a book that's just like the rest of the series, and it helps you improve your writing and make it better. And enough people have tested it now that I'm fairly confident it works.
Nice.
The one after that is how do you construct a blurb that will actually sell books? Because a lot of people, the marketing hurdle is, okay, I've got this wonderful book. I finally figured out my cover, but I'm just not selling why. And when I do consulting, it's almost always the tagline on the blurb. So I just did one yesterday where the guy had magical conspiracy as the first two words. And what you'll learn in the book, which is called Blurbs That Sell Books, is there's primary symbols in each genre that people are going to recognize. And if they hit a primary symbol they don't like, they check out. So as soon as most people say the word conspiracy as relates to fantasy, they're not going to be interested and they're going to stop reading. And that's what this guy is running into. That's a thriller keyword. If you see conspiracy and thriller, okay, you got my attention. But in fantasy, generally, especially warm-hearted fantasy, I'm looking for, happiness and friendship and brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, those two
This,
books will be coming out to tackle those very difficult areas, and I try to keep them as cheap as possible because this is not my primary source of income. I am a sci-fi and fantasy author, but it is really fun to make books that'll help people, especially in my genres, kind of write the books I want to read.
very nice. Well, I'm looking forward to those two. I kind of followed all the series, and those two sound exceptionally relevant right now, especially with some of the fears that we're facing in the market. So thank you, Chris. Are those books available for pre-order right now, or do you have a release date for them?
Today is March 31st as of this recording. I'm literally going to hit publish tomorrow on the first one, Level Up Your Writing. So that'll be out. Blurbs for authors, I think I'll probably set for April 15th. So both of them are coming pretty soon.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll be out by the time this airs because I just could not recommend you more. I appreciate you so much for joining us today, Chris.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real privilege.
Awesome. All right, talk to you soon. And bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you'll pick up the books. Take care.
If you found Chris and Eliza's discussion helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We release a new video every week about the craft and business of writing professionally. In case you'd like to know more about Aliza Mann, Chris Fox, or Novelists Inc., we'll put those links in the description box below. Until next time, this is Ryan at NINC, signing off.